This is the Work in Progress podcast. My name is Colleta Macharia, a life coach and author of the book, How to Design Your Career Game Plan. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the barriers to starting. And before we go too far, I want to tell you the story of my friend Betsy. Now, Betsy likes to do what she calls creative resting. And so this day, Betsy came from work and she had it in her mind to just sit and read her book. And it's something she had been looking forward to doing all week. And so she had an hour, to do that. So when she got home, she kept away her laptop and her bag, cleaned up, and then sat down to do her reading. But then when she was just about to begin, she thought, I need some music in the background. And so she, took her phone and selected a playlist and cast it on her TV device. And then she thought, why don't I go and get myself a cup of masala tea to go with this wonderful time, So she went to the kitchen and boiled the water to make herself a cup of tea. And when she went to get the tea bag, she realized that she was almost running out of tea bags. And so Betsy decided to make a note for herself so that she would get herself some tea bags when she went shopping. And while she was making that note, she thought, okay, why don't I just write the whole shopping list, because I realized that I'm running out of so many groceries. So she took the time and made her shopping list, and by the time she was finishing, her tea was there, almost getting cold, and so she took her tea and went to sit on the couch and read her book. But then she said to herself, why don't I get my laundry and put it in the washing machine so that it can be washing while I'm reading? That way I get to kill several birds with one stone. And Betsy did exactly that. She went and loaded the washer, and by the time she was coming to sit down to read her book, like 40 minutes had gone. So she had read for about 10 minutes when the doorbell rang, and lo and behold, Betsy got a guest, and that was the end of her reading. So she put her things away and started to entertain her guest. And this is something that happens many times. It happens to me. I wonder if it has happened to you. You set off to do something, but then you keep preparing and looking for the perfect moment to do exactly that. So today I want to delve a little deeper and look at perfectionism as a barrier to starting something, and then we'll look at two other barriers. And perfectionism itself is not a bad thing. As a personal standard, it can be great because it means that one values excellence. However, a hyper focus on excellence is too much of a good thing. And like the saying goes, too much of a good thing can be counterproductive. And so perfectionism is on the end of the spectrum. If you were to look at excellence on this side and perfectionism on this side, we're trying to look for like a point of equilibrium, so that we're not doing too much and we're not doing too little. And it was quite liberating for me when I learned that perfectionism can be overcome. It's not a death sentence. Yes, it can ring the death knell for our dreams when we look at it as a starting point, and then we keep aiming to have the perfect start, and failing to start the thing that we need to do. But at the same time, it's not a death sentence. There are tools and strategies that we can use to help ourselves to grow out of it. And it's it's a process. And by the way, if you're wondering whether perfectionism could be the reason that you have stalled or haven't started in some of the things that you wanted to do, or you found yourself stuck, I want to ask you 3 questions. And if you answer yes to any or all of them, then perhaps you need to consider whether perfectionism is a problem for you. So the first question is, do you often find yourself procrastinating? You need to be doing something, but then you hold off on it until you can have the perfect time, the perfect way to do it, or you are assured of the perfect outcome. All right? The next question is, do you find yourself focusing so much on the outcome, the end product, to the point where you forget to appreciate the process, the learning that can come out of the process, the different things that, it's like being on a journey and admiring the scenery as you go. So do you find yourself so focused on the destination that you forget to enjoy the journey? Third question, do you often miss deadlines because you took so long to finish something or to do something, longer than other people would ordinarily take to do the same thing? Say, submitting an assignment, working on an assignment, working on a project, and then do you often find yourself turning in things late because you are trying to probably get in some more research, to get in some more analysis to make it a little more perfect? So those are things that can be pointers, so that if you've answered yes to any or all of those, then you need to check your subscription to the Perfectionism Club, because chances are very high that you have automatic renewal in that club. And I have a couple of hot tips for you if you find yourself in that situation. And my first hot tip is unsubscribe. Just unsubscribe from the Perfectionism Club, all right? And then the second tip is appreciate that even at the highest level of earthly perfection, there is room for improvement. We will always find things that we need to do. We could do better, or ways in which we could improve something. Therefore, my hot tip for you is lower your expectation, but maintain your standard. And when I say lower your expectation, I mean lowering the expectation of you being perfect or doing things perfectly all the time, but maintain that standard as an aspiration, all right? Because if you remember in the second episode, we say that perfection as an aspiration is a motivator, but perfection as a starting point is a dream killer, all right? Third tip, when it comes to deadlines, and this is something that I really, really appreciated learning from my mentor. What he said to me is, set for yourself a deadline before the deadline, all right? That way, once you reach your self-imposed deadline, you know it's time to wind up on that report or that assignment and submit it. All right, so that way you do not risk going on and on and on and submitting things at the last minute or missing the deadlines. And I must say, I found that advice to be really, really helpful for myself. Now, the second barrier is time. If you often find yourself rushing or claiming that you have no time for this or that, doing stuff that you need to be doing, or you can't get the time to start writing that book, to take that course, or, to update your resume, then you probably subscribed to either the Yes Club or the Bite More Than You Can Chew Club, all right? And the theme song for these clubs, the Yes Club and the Bite More Than You Can Chew Club, is I don't have time. It comes in different variations. Time is not on my side, or I have no time, or when I get time, or when I retire, I will do this and that and the other, all right? My hot tip for you, again, is unsubscribe. And then once you do that, follow the advice of the renowned marathon runner, Eliud Kipchoge. And this is what he says, that each of us should be very, very keen to take our regular dose of vitamin N, all right? Meaning learning to say no. Saying no to those things that do not add value to us, or those things that can be delegated, or they do not even contribute positively to our mission or even feed our spirit, so that when we say no to those things, then we can say yes to all those things that are priorities for us and will contribute to our mission, will feed our spirit, okay? So be keen to take your vitamin N, as Eliud Kipchoge advises. The final barrier that I want to touch on today is the imposter syndrome. Oh yes, the imposter syndrome. That little voice that sneaks up on you and says, you're a fraud, If they knew what you really are like, they probably wouldn't hire you, or they wouldn't give you this project to do, or it's just by a stroke of good luck that you succeeded in doing this and that and the other. You're not really that good, and it's just a matter of time before you are found out to be an imposter. And the imposter syndrome is not a new thing. It has been around for a long time. In fact, even in the days of Moses of the Bible, Moses was sent by God to go and speak to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh to let his people go. And Moses said, no, I can't really do it. Why don't you send Aaron? And, Moses had so many reasons why he couldn't do it. And Gideon as well, he was hiding someplace when God called to him and said, hey, mighty man of valor. And Gideon is like, who's that mighty man of valor? It certainly cannot be me. So the imposter syndrome is not a new thing. And so my hot tip, if you find yourself struggling with the imposter syndrome, is to read a book that was co-authored by Portia Mount, and it's titled Beating the Imposter Syndrome. It's a book that I read a few years ago, and I really found it useful. And I came up with a way, a tool for myself just to remind me of how to deal with the imposter syndrome. And I want to share that tool with you. This is an acronym. As you get to know me, you'll realize that I really do love acronyms. So this one is ROCK, R-O-C-K. And this is what it stands for. 1, remember your achievements. All right? Take stock of the things that you have achieved, or you have succeeded at. For example, qualifications that you have, or successes that you have done, work that you have done successfully, and just appreciate it. And then once you've done that, own it. Own that achievement, own that success, and tell yourself that they were not flukes. It was not just a result of good luck. It was not random. You worked hard for it. Okay? And then challenge what limits you. Is it a belief that you're not good enough? Is it a voice, that inner critic that comes up and starts telling you things and feeding you lies? Is it something that somebody said that probably stuck with you and you keep thinking about it? Challenge it. Speak the truth to it, and just remind yourself that, of who you are and what you have done, and that it's not a fluke. And finally, keep a record of any tools, any formulas, any methods, anything that you use to help yourself. Ensure that you maintain a record of it. If it's attributes that you have, or how-tos that or models that you find come easy to you and you use them to achieve your successes, keep track of them. Keep a record of them, and that way you are reminding yourself and showing yourself that there is a method. There is a way that I got to where I am. There is a way that I managed to achieve this success, or to complete this work, or to earn myself this. It was not a fluke. So please remember, you're not an imposter. You rock. So go ahead and use the ROCK acronym to help yourself remember and just challenge the imposter syndrome every time it sneaks on you. I want to leave you with this quote that I shared earlier, that if you find yourself struggling with perfectionism, lower your expectation, but maintain your standards of excellence. All right? You are lowering your expectation of perfection on yourself, all right? And that should ease a bit of pressure on you, but you are maintaining that standard as an aspiration, something to always aim for, because aiming for excellence is a beautiful thing. So have a fantastic week. God bless you, and see you in the next episode. The Work in Progress podcast is brought to you by Cogent Afrique. Visit www.cogentafrique.com to check out learning and development opportunities for you, your team, organization, and family.